Hey everyone, Cahlen here, and in this video I am going to be foraging for some prickly pear flower buds. Basically before the actually flower is bloomed, there are these little buds which you can pick and you can eat them. And also I'm going to be eating the young fronds. I don't know if fronds are the right way, but if you think of a prickly pear cactus, it's flat and circular and it has all the spikes coming out. But so when it's young, it kind of is in that shape too. So either a flower bud starts there or a new frond starts there, and it basically starts to grow out, and that's actually a really nice thing to eat. Okay, so I've never actually eaten either of these things or prepared them, but I'm kind of familiar with general ideas of how to prepare them and stuff like that. So basically I'm just going to be using fire to get rid of all the thorns. So in order to do that, I'm going to be using, this is a colander bowl set. Steel, so oops, I just spilled on myself. So this is, just a normal steel container. You can use this as a pot for cooking. This is great for, washing things and all kinds of different stuff, but also it's good for getting the little spikes off of cactus, because you can go like this and it will help pull them off because they'll get stuck in the holes. And you can also use it as a wood stove, which is what I'm going to be doing today. Okay, so these two things by itself are actually really helpful, especially if you're cooking for more than just yourself. Like I have my own titanium pot set for camping that I would take out with me in my backpack, but that would only cook enough for me. I would need something more like this to cook for maybe 2 or 3 people. Okay, so this is a titanium cooking grill, basically super lightweight. Fits in my backpack, basically not even noticeable that it's there. And these are some titanium tongs, right? Because I'm not going to want to be touching the cactus with my bare hands. So anyways, I kind of see myself as having 3 different food sources, right? So I have the main food source that I generally am eating from, which is coming from the system, right? I'm eating the chocolate that I make, the chocolate powder mix, and the instant oats and things like that. And that comes from grocery stores and online stores and all that type of stuff, okay? But that may all go away someday. So then I've got the sunchokes, which are like sunflowers, which grow tubers, like roots, which are like potatoes. And I have enough of those growing this year that I could probably feed myself indefinitely just by planting them again the next year, okay? So without any other food source, okay? So basically, it wouldn't be ideal, but I wouldn't die, okay? And so also, I may get pushed off of where I am and where I have planted sunchokes, and so I need another food source for that type of situation, okay? Prickly pear is one of those food sources. Basically, you can eat it year-round. It's not so good in the winter, and you're going to have to eat a lot of it, and you're also probably going to have to prepare it with fire, and you're going to get a lot of charred material inside of you, which is not necessarily a good thing, okay? But you could survive off this year-round. It's got the young flower buds and the young fronds in the spring. Later on, it's going to, then, kind of in the summer as things get wet and things like that, just the main fronds, even the old ones, you can eat those at any time, and because they'll be really healthy during that time of the year. That's the best time to use them. And it'll be easier to cook them with fire because they'll have a lot of water in them, and so they won't get scorched as easily. Okay, and then as you get into the fall, they start putting off fruit, a lot of fruit. You could survive off of this fruit. It'll be everywhere around you, okay? And then again, like I say, when it gets in the winter, they get a little shriveled up, and technically you can eat them at that point, but like I said, it's not the ideal situation. So anyways, today it's spring, it's almost summer, but there's definitely a lot of flower buds out there and new fronds, so I'm going to go in. I keep saying fronds, and I don't know if it's the right word. Is that the right word? Is it a frond? Seems kind of frondy. Anyways, I'm going to go get some. Okay, so you can see this whole field here is basically full of prickly pear cactus everywhere. The whole field all the way back. It's probably multiple acres, and basically you can find stuff like this everywhere that you go around this area. Okay, so if we look here, we can see how all these little things right here are popping up. Those are basically the flower buds. Those are going to flower, and then they're going to be fruit later on around September, October time. So basically I'm going to harvest some of those And then you can kind of see here some of the new fronds. Here's a big frond, right? This is, you can eat this, but this one was here last year and all that type of stuff. These three right here, these are all brand new this year. And you can see I've got a fire in the colander now. Nice thing about the colander is it breathes really well and feeds even the under part of the fire. Also, it keeps everything secure, so you're not going to be starting fires with the stuff around you, okay? Also have this little folding bellows where you can blow on it from far away. So you don't singe your beard. And now I'm going to put this titanium grate on top here. And this means that I can cook right off of this grate, but also it means now I can set this bowl on it if I'm going to be cooking a soup of some kind or boiling something. So I'm just going to start putting the buds in the flames, basically. We want the flames to eat all the spikes. And it looks like we have room, so I'm going to put some of these on there as well. I think you want to generally move the flowers pretty regularly. We don't want to like totally fry them, which we might be doing here, but you definitely want those spikes off. Definitely. Okay, I flipped them over at this point. You can see they're pretty well charred, and you can still see some of the spikes, but if you like press on them, they like fall apart, like they're kind of ashy. Not all of them though, so definitely make sure you're thorough about this. You don't want spikes in your mouth. So at this point, it's basically ready to eat. I don't really see any spikes on there anymore, and this thing's small enough that pretty much has cooked it. There's a lot of water and soft fleshy material inside all this char, so basically it's not ideal to eat the char, but I'm going to try this and then I'm going to cook the rest a different way, okay? And you can see there's a whole lot of green food in there, and it actually tastes really good. Like, I could eat these all day, but be really careful. If you get a spike in your mouth, you will be miserable possibly for days. So it's a big issue. So that's another reason why I'm going to basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil these now. And partly that's to get all the char off. I don't really want to be eating all the char on the outside of the thick skin of the cactus. And I think it'll separate more of the spikes from the outside. So I'll just use the same stove and the bowl that I showed you to do that. Okay, I've got my thin plastic cutting board here, which a friend sent me, which is very nice. I'm going to grab this with my tongs. It's probably safe to grab with my fingers, but just to be safe, I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to kind of scrape off the outer layer of heavily cooked junk. Okay, it's looking pretty clean. I think it's generally a good idea to kind of cut off the very last part of the edge here, because this is where a lot of spikes are, and sometimes they don't get burned off very well, so just kind of trimming the very outside. So here's what it looks like, the frond, the prickly pear frond. I think this is what they call Nepalese. May not be saying that right, it might even not be the right word, but like in Mexico, for example, this is something that people eat on the regular. In fact, it's in grocery stores and things like that, okay? But, you know, it's usually probably less, they have genetically less prickly versions that are also bigger and juicier, which are the kind that you would get at the grocery store. So anyways, let's give this a try. That's really good. Kind of hard to describe the taste, but it's like different flavors, but they're all fairly mild, so that it's not like overwhelming. It's something that I could probably eat until I was full. I feel like it would fill you up pretty fast. It's pretty thick. Even this little guy, right? This is a baby. It's a lot of food. Here's one of the flowers all cleaned up. I'm gonna put salt on it. Yeah, salt. Mmm. They're really good without the salt. They don't need salt, but they're also really good with salt. I wonder about like frying these in coconut oil. I think I'll try that sometime. So anyways, that's how to eat the prickly pear cactus. It's pretty much everywhere in the United States. I think almost all of the states have this growing naturally somewhere in the state. So it's something that's generally available to a lot of people. And if you consider the fact that you don't actually have to do any of the farming and all that upkeep of a garden type of stuff, it's just kind of out there. The fact that it takes a little bit of extra processing time at the end to get all the thorns out doesn't seem like such a big deal, okay? So anyways, this is basically year-round food, less convenient in the winter, but still, you can eat it. So anyways, hope that's helpful. I'll see you guys later.